Hello, lovely people. It is Tuesdays with Julia, and our topic this week on GLadToBeteensLGBT is religion. So the reason we started this topic, or I kind of suggested the idea of doing this topic, is because we've gotten some messages on the channel saying, homosexuality is a sin. We still love you, but, you should change your ways, that kind of hypocritical stuff. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of address this topic on what religion and spirituality means personally to each of us, and what we say to people when they tell us that homosexuality is a sin. So the first question is, what is your, how do you define spirituality for yourself? And personally, I feel like spirituality is personal. It's something that you experience within yourself, and it has nothing to do with what anyone else tells you is right, or preaches to you, or imposes rules upon you. That's not what I think spirituality is. Religion is different, in my opinion, than spirituality. You can be religious and be spiritual. You can be spiritual without being religious, and I feel like they're separate entities. You can combine them, and you can be a spiritual religious person, but you can also be spiritual, I think, without organized religion. I just got finished reading Siddhartha for school, which, if you're not familiar with Siddhartha, it's a very philosophical book. It takes a journey through this man's life. He starts off as a Brahmin, which is basically a priest, or he's a Brahmin son, so he's a priest's son, and he goes through life performing all the sacrificial rites and stuff that would be considered religious kind of processes, I guess. And he wasn't getting satisfied with that, so he decides to live the life of a shramana, which is basically a traveling person. You just experience the world, and you forsake all of your possessions, and you try to take a spiritual journey. And he learned from a bunch of the other shramanas, and then he realized, well, he actually met the Buddha, Gautama the Buddha, and he realized, okay, I have to experience the world on my own. I can't just keep learning from these teachings, because that's not how he thought he would reach enlightenment. He had to experience the world for himself. So he goes and lives this life of really shallow pleasure for a long time, and that completely goes kind of wrong for him, and he rejects that. And there's this one scene where he's beside this river, and he's about to kill himself because he's so depressed from all this suffering he's felt from these shallow pleasures that he's experienced in this life of basically he got really wrapped up in possessions and wanting things all the time, and he lost this connection to what's within him. So he finally sees Om in the river, which is, Om is basically perfection, everything, and that inspires him to go live by the river, and then he finally reaches enlightenment in the end. So I think it just really illustrates how religion is a spiritual journey, or not religion, what am I talking about? Spirituality is a personal journey that everyone can choose to go on or not, and that's their personal decision. I don't feel like you need to conform to a certain set of religious doctrines in order to enlighten yourself and become spiritually pure, or whatever you want to achieve spiritually. That's your own thing, and no one has the right to tell you that you're doing it wrong. I feel very passionately about that. I really do. I have nothing against religion if it doesn't impose on other people and what they believe, or as long as it doesn't stand in front of them on their own life's journey. Because I think people should be free to experience the world and reach their own enlightenment for themselves. That being said, let's see. There are plenty of religions that kind of follow that that mindset. I am from the belief that all religions are connected and there's no one set path, like I just kind of explained to you, that they're all manifestations of the same thing. So Buddhism is connected to like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, as long as they're not following just like the rules, like you have to not eat this kind of meat, or you can't be gay, you can't do this, you can't do that, because I don't think rules are what makes a person spiritually alive necessarily. You have to discover that on your own. Basically, I'm just reiterating the same thing over and over and over again. I'm sorry. But I think religions should be celebrated for their diversity, basically. And there's a lot to be learned from them. So, what do I say when people say that religion, or that homosexuality is a sin? I say that, like, love, how can you deny any form of love? Love to me is like the purest, like, most beautiful thing there is in the world. And if you deny any form of love, then you're like denying beauty. And you're denying, like, Jesus loved people for people. And I think like love, sexual love, is a different form of like any kind of love that there is, really. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you think that like sexuality is impure or whatever, then it's just dumb. I don't know. I think any form of love is beautiful, and you can't deny homosexual love. I don't really know. I also say, like, well, okay, that's your belief. That's your specific path, but just because you think it's right doesn't mean that I'm gonna agree with you. And I think that everyone deserves the respect not to be told that they're wrong when there's no necessarily proof. Like, even if it says in the Bible that homosexuality is wrong, like, what do you choose from the Bible to believe? There's so much in there that people completely ignore, like enslaving people and, I don't know, stoning people to death if they do something wrong. Like, it says stuff like that in the Bible, but people don't do that stuff. Like, it's all about like picking and choosing these verses. And why pick a verse that's mentioned like once or twice when you can look at the underlying themes within the Bible, which come to loving other people for who they are, being accepting of who they are, and just emulating who Jesus was, which is basically like someone who gave himself to other people, who was selfless. And I think people get caught up in like these little tiny verses, and they don't look at the overall truth and the overall message of these texts. And I think there's a lot of truth in the Bible. I really, really do. But it doesn't come from weeding out little passages and then twisting them into your own just sick message of hatred to spread around the world. That's just wrong. So religion is a beautiful thing. Spirituality is a beautiful thing, as long as it's not twisted evilly in bad ways. That's what I think. Yes, I'm wearing my robe. Peace out.